Alright, welcome back. Let's get this out of the way. First of all, this is not financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Consult your licensed financial advisor before doing anything. Do not risk any money you are not willing to lose in the markets. Do not put on positions that are too large so you can sleep at night and not get emotional. Alright, so welcome back. I hope everyone's safe and sound. It's interesting times. I'm going to talk about the news and update on the markets, mainly macro stuff. Not much has changed. I haven't done much lately besides research. I am looking through another, it's over 200 stocks in junior and silver miners. And that'll come out soon. It takes a lot of time if you do it properly, right? And there's no rush. A lot of people think for some reason, people are still FOMOing. Trust me, it's not gonna. You still have that dip coming, I believe. I could be completely wrong, but I still think the dip is coming. A lot of gold bugs are still super duper bullish, and they have the right to be based on fundamentals, but not everything is fundamentals. A lot of it's also technicals, and these equity markets are intertwined, right? You have to think outside the box. Because when a trade is crowded onto one side, it usually means we're going to get a correction sooner or later. And again, Buffett's quote, money goes from the impatient to the patient. To patient people, right? A lot of people, they like to chase price like every day. Because you have this mentality that you have to work harder to earn more. It's not like that in the markets. I don't believe so, at least. I'm a swing trader. I'm not a day trader. By the way, the people who chase price every day, they miss the big picture. And then, you might get some good gains over a long period of time as the market's going your way, right? Let's say you have massive gains after 3 months and you're just trading in and out every day. Well, as soon as that trend breaks, you lose all those gains very quickly. It could happen just a couple days. All right, so you have to have patience. Plus, I believe you make much more swing trading than day trading, because you make less mistakes and you just have to let it play out. Alright. So, again, I do believe gold and silver is going to make new all-time highs, possibly even by the end of this year. But I still think we're going to get a correction before that. Now, after the next big correction, then I'm just pretty much holding and watching my account grow again. The summer has been great. We've had some massive gains. I have to reiterate what I've done, because people watch other people's videos and completely forget what I say. And then you come back and you're like, wait, what? So far, I've done better than anyone out there that I know of. But not all trades are going to work out. My shorts, for example, I lost my shorts on my short positions. That was, I shorted the market too early by buying inverse ETFs to the market. I did not think it would just keep going up like this with everything going on in the real world. right? But I should have known that, and the reason I should have known that, I should have anticipated how dumb average investor is, and how much liquidity the central bank's pumping into the market. So now you're going to get the guys who say, oh, don't fight the Fed. Stocks only go up forever. There'll never be a correction because they keep printing. That's not true. You're still going to get corrections. So we're going to talk about that as well. Let's go through the news real quick. And by the way, I don't even want to say this site because I'll get banned. But this site, it collects, it's not one person or a group of people from one publisher writing all of these. They take the news from everyone and put it on this site. That's why you get more truth from it. Everything else is pretty much watered down or not really true. It's just bullish. It has a super bullish bias to the markets. Not that they're wrong because of all the Fed printing, and it is pushing the markets higher, kind of like Venezuela's stock market before they went into hyperinflation. And I'll talk about the Jackson Hole thing, but honestly, nothing's changed. I've been talking about all this for years, and it's just playing out now. So at this point, if I keep talking about it and going into detail about it, I'm beating a dead horse. If you're new to the channel, which there aren't too many people, I don't know, catch up. Anyways, there's a lot of people who follow me who are in Cali because I have analytics, right, on my channel. And I can see the regions, not specifically for any person, but where the viewers are. Like, I feel bad for you guys. And I understand moving is not easy. But, it doesn't look good. And there's like rolling blackouts. It's like third world. Now, some areas are probably still very nice, but you're really paying for it, right? Taxes are just, I couldn't imagine like paying that much for what? Nice weather. It's sad because it's a nice region, right? You could go to the beach and then like drive 4 or 5 hours and go skiing all in one state. But it is what it is. That's what you get when the state goes blue. And you know, I don't want to get into all of the proposals they're doing for like if you leave, they're still gonna collect tax. That's not constitutional. What they're doing is they shoot high, and then then it makes it seem like they're being just if they don't impose that. Basically what I'm saying is if they're asking for like a 90% tax on you and then they talk it down to 40%, then it looks like they're being that they're compromising. In reality, they're not. That's the oldest trick in the book. I thought the RNC was pretty good. It was good. I have more respect. I think they're fighting for the US. Listen, I mean, if he doesn't win, then time's up. We've ran out of time. And that's it. Like, SHTF is happening. In the worst possible way you could imagine. By the way, for everyone who thinks everything's going to go back to normal after the election, it's not. We might get periods where things calm down for like a month or two, but then they'll ramp up again. Calm down, ramp up again. Calm down. But every time it ramps up, it's gonna get worse and worse, and it's gonna become more prevalent throughout the entire nation. Why? Well, my opinion is because people are gonna start feeling the the, inflationary depression the country's going to go into. I know he's making big promises. He sort of has to. I hope he could pull some of it off, but truth of the matter is, um, if he brings back industrial jobs, keeps lowering taxes, and keeps deregulating, it'll be a softer landing. The plane's not going to just nose dive straight into the ground. It's going to kind of come in and do an emergency landing, maybe break a wing off, maybe roll, but a lot of people will survive. I feel like if the left gains power, I mean, it's going to be really bad. Not just that, outside forces, they will carve up the country and give it to outside forces like China. All right? And he even said it in his speech. I mean, that's what's going to happen. By the way, my channels, everyone's going to be wiped off the internet. You will live in Orwellian nightmare. You're going to be wearing masks. You're going to be stuck in your home until, I don't know. It's going to be bad. So you have to go for the lesser of two evils if that's what you believe. This is not the time to vote for nobody for your libertarian principles. By the way, that person's not even. Trust me, the party is like controlled opposition to take away votes from the red. The U.S. is going to ban short selling at points for the U.S. markets. When we see the correction, they're going to do that. Trust me. Science is no longer science. One bank finally tells the truth. I mean, a lot of these banks have already told the truth, but nobody listens to them. And the only reason they tell the truth is because so they could say, look, see, we did warn you guys before everything went to hell. Listen, robotics is definitely advancing very fast, like computers, and people aren't paying attention. They don't think it's going to be like here. 10 years from now, we're gonna see RoboCop, all right? That's what I think. And that kind of ties into what's going on today, right? Well, they'll make the argument, well, they're programmed and they're going to be just RoboCops. And then they'll all turn on us, right? Some elitists will have control of them. Class warfare we already see it happening, by the way. So all the boomers who sort of let things get this bad, who did nothing, basically doing nothing, you let it get to this point. Well, your nice McMansions and white picket fences are at risk now, aren't they? They're gonna go into the suburbs. So any house that looks like money, or even I'm talking about higher middle class, but even middle class, if you have a nice lawn, they're gonna go into they're eventually gonna be at your front doorstep, no matter where you're at. Well, maybe if you're really, really out there, no, but if you're just outside the city, like 30 minutes even, you're gonna see it. By the way, like I've recently drove into the city and it's pretty bad. Like you can even feel the tension, right? And it looks like it's falling apart. And by the way, for all the people who are prepping with me for the cold, for this wicked cold that's going around, boy, were we right. one way or the other. I even said it in the private group. I'm like, listen, you should be doing this anyways for the economy and the civil unrest that's coming because of that anyways. So we bought everything on the cheap. Everything is overpriced now. You can't even find a lot of things like lead, right? You can't find that anymore. Empty highways. 61 million Americans have stopped commuting. All right, 61 million out of a population of 330 million is a lot. Because let's think about it this way. At least 40, I'd say at least 40% of the population is kids and elderly. So right there, like let's just say, these aren't accurate numbers, but I'm just guesstimating, right? Let's say 180 million don't really commute to work, don't drive, they're on disability, they don't really have jobs. That's probably lowballing. So that leaves you with like 150 million who actually commute to work every day. Well, out of the 150 million, 61 million aren't even commuting. So that leaves you with like 99 million still driving to work, like 100 million still commuting to work, which it used to be like 150 million. That's why when you go on the roads, there isn't traffic like there used to be. But there is traffic kind of during, well, there was prior to this as well. People are driving all day. Not so, but there isn't like rush hour, right? In the morning and the afternoon. Like, also it kind of helps gas prices for the short term. Gas prices, okay, so energy costs are going to go up in the long term mainly because your fiat currency is losing value. And people are still going to drive around, but eventually, yeah, I mean, once it gets really high, the prices of gas at the pumps, they're going to drive less. So the roads are going to get a little more dystopian. And you know, it's funny, for my other business, I have been working 7 days a week all year since the beginning of this year. Nonstop, I've been working. And it was eerie when everyone was locked down and I was just the only person on the road. There weren't even police or anything. Like, I'm just driving and there's nobody on a major highway. It was really creepy. I'll never forget that. So when my kids, if I survive, ask me stories about what was it like, I know what it was like because I was still active the entire time. Like, life for me went on as nothing happened. Again, I still walk around with nothing on my face. No one has said shit. People kind of, nod at me. They're like, legend. And it is what it is. I'm not a sheep. So, as the empire internally is falling apart, the US, right? Outside forces who are also funding the internal falling apart one way or another, right? So, I've talked about this. You have the aristocracy, right? So I'm going to call them, bankers, hedge funds, major corporations, multinationals who want global hegemony, and they side more with China, right? So they fund internally the things that are going on that we see right now and the collapse from inside, as outside forces are building, are getting ready, and they're moving in on the walls, like Rome's walls before Rome fell. And this is kind of how it always happens historically. These are macro cycles, and the stockracy, right? I have to be careful with the words I use. They know the major cycles. That's what they study, right? The smart ones, the people at the very, very top of the triangle. So what they do is they leverage the macro cycle, and they'll even speed it up. And it's kind of like they use margin, and they make the cycle worse, and they speed it up, and then they use it for their own benefit, if that makes sense. Okay. Again, I've talked about this. The hard times create strong men. The strong men create the good times. The good times create weak men, and the weak men bring on the hard times. That's what's happening in the giant macro sense of civilization. Okay, well, the people at the very top, they know this, and they're leveraging it for their own benefit and speeding it up. And then that's how the wealth transfer happens, and they take everything. All right. This is not good. This is very bad for Europeans. This alliance. And people would look at it, well, that's very bad for the US. Well, no, not really, because their global wet dream, I shouldn't have said that. Is not going to work out anyways in the long run, because it's absolutely unmanageable. It's very unsustainable. But they're still going to try it, right? And they're trying it right now, and the U.S. is being isolated at this point from the rest of the world that's a part of this world order. If you guys want to go there, I just have to be careful with the words. So the U.S. is the last place of freedom, even though we're losing it. Very sad. So it'll be fought here, probably. Alright, so what else? Let's go. Give me a second. Like I said, I mean, Germany's not having a good. Germans aren't having a good time. So S&P futures hit record above 3,500. I'll look at the charts. So American spending and income has risen, right, in the past few months, which is also boosting the stock market and gives the anchors on financial media all the excuses to keep touting and keep screaming buy, buy, buy. Well, it's kind of an illusion, right? Because incomes rose because, well, you were getting an extra 600 a week for unemployment. Now it's only 400. Still a lot. It's unbelievable. If you're still working, you're basically a sucker. And then spending rose because, well, people are gonna spend money when they have extra money, right? And they've been programmed to in the U.S. at least. It's a consumer-based nation, right? Also, people are probably fixing up their homes. They've been doing that a lot. I'll talk about lumber prices and maybe prepping. When you're stuck at home not working, you tend to actually spend more money because what else are you going to do? You've probably watched all the movies that are out there. There's nothing new, nothing good to watch. So people are going to spend. And they have all day to spend. Which did temporarily boost the economy. Temporarily. This is all temporary. But like I said, you're starting to see shrinkflation, right? Food shrinking. The package stays the same size. The other day I was eating a ice cream like drumstick. The drumstick is like made for a child. It's like the size of my palm. It used to be double the size, if not more. But the packaging, the box, it's like filled up like 30%. The rest of it's air. Even the bag that the cone was in is double the size of the cone. Like, they didn't change the size of the packaging. They just give you less food for your money. And then slowly the price goes up. Slowly, so you don't notice as much. And then you can't leave the store without spending like a paycheck. Meanwhile, Powell is saying, well, we need to help the poor and the middle class by letting inflation run wild. And what his argument is, we need to get people back to work, so we need to let inflation run higher. Well, that makes no sense. As an Austrian, a student of Austrian economics, because if prices are higher, you're gonna buy less things. If you buy less things, then employers need less employees. Does that make sense? Because they sell less goods. It's that basic economics 101. But we don't live in a world of logic, reasoning, independent thought, and we live in a world of centralization. And this is what it leads to. It leaves the 0.01% with 50% of the world's assets, and everyone else is a peasant. And that's why I'm saying, like, the things you see in the street, it's not just about, certain issues. It's about a whole generation of kids who know they're screwed. Not just that, I mean, they were taught all their lives nonsense. So they're angry. And it's probably going to get worse. And I feel bad for him. I wish, to an extent, right? At some level, it's like, all right, you need to stop. Parents don't spank kids these days anymore, but maybe this is what it leads to when you don't have a strong father figure. And anyways, there's like endless war games in the ocean. That's great. By the way, you know how empire's really on decline? It's kind of like Great Britain, when their navy no longer owns or is like the main force in all the oceans around the world. Once your navy's in decline, that's the signal for the rest of the world. Like, they've lost global hegemony. Chicago PMI disappoints. It was a dead cat bounce. This summer was a dead cat bounce that shot the markets higher. Besides the fact that everyone crowded into like a handful of tech stocks. All right, let's look at it. This article with Powell. After thinking about it all day, I'm still not quite sure this isn't a joke. Highbrow commitment of utterly brilliant performance art, the kind of 4D masterpiece of hilarious deception that Andy Kaufman would gone nuts over. I mean, it has to be, right? I'm talking, of course, about Jackson Hole and Jay Powell's reportedly genius masterstroke. There's a lot that needs to be said about it, and I've already written countless times about the puppet show. including specifically symmetry. That's really all Sherman said today in Wyoming. Listen, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Meaning, they're doing yield. They're controlling the yield curve, right? The Fed is, by buying bonds. Yield curve control. At the same time, running a high inflation policy, super high inflation policy. And then they say, well, if inflation runs out of control, we could control it, and we'll let... Their tool to stop inflation is to let yields go higher. But they can't do that either. That's why they're stuck. If they let yields rise on bonds, all the debt comes due for everyone. Every corporation, every small business, everyone with loans on cars and homes and credit cards. Your interest rate will just skyrocket. What is that going to do? I mean, you'll just see defaults everywhere. Like, everything's going to go out of business. So they can't stop inflation. They just will let it keep running. And that's why we live in very scary times, because we're seeing a lot of things play out like we did in Venezuela. The market just keeps ripping higher while the real world is, on fire. Now, eventually, the very end game is either like the money's worthless, or they actually do let interest rates just normalize, meaning they let the free market decide where interest rates are supposed to be, which will be really high. Will be like Paul Volcker high. And then that'll be the big reset. And then we'll have a huge depression, which is, I would rather have the depression than hyperinflation, to be honest. Because during a depression, at least you could still eat. And you could buy up things on the cheap. In inflation, I mean, these food bank things are going to be permanent. And that's why they're going to keep the cold around for years to come, because it's an excuse. They could blame it on that, and it kind of masks the real problem, which is literally the global economy at this point. The Fed's policy mistake, buying. More inflation will lead to financial instability. Well, here's the thing. The central banks think that inflation is not as bad as market instability and volatility. They think that they would rather have the banks not go under and the markets stay high than have higher and higher prices on Main Street for everyone else. So they're picking to save the markets and the banks, which makes sense because who owns the central banks, right? But in the end, it's not gonna. Everything's gonna go to crap anyways, because with super high inflation, I mean, that's going to destroy everything in the end. Anyways, this just buys more time. They're afraid. At the end of the day, guys, all we're talking about is they are just trying to buy themselves more time. Buying themselves more time will make things worse. But if they let the free market correct all of the manipulation that they've been doing for decades now, they're afraid that, because we've never seen a bubble this big in human history, and everything runs on this bubble. That's what's scary about it. So they would rather just buy for, a few more years. Honestly, I don't think there is there's a plan. They're trying to hash up plans, probably. Well, not probably. I know they are, but we all know they are. But I think the future is going to be so unstable and so uncertain that you should, as for example, as the gold and silver bull market continues for the next few years, as it continues, I'm deleveraging completely, so I don't get wiped out with volatility, because everything's going to become volatile. I mean, right now society is volatile. Main Street is volatile. Well, that's going to move to Wall Street. It's just a matter of time. So don't open a margin account if you don't have like 6-7 years experience, although they give everyone who opens an account automatically margin. Don't leverage up. Just play it safe. It's whoever walks away with something wins in the end, because it's going to get very volatile. Casinos are laying off people massively. All right, let's look at the charts. Here's the S&P weekly chart. Just a clean chart so you can see what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Can it go a little higher? A little blow off top and then correct? Yes. I hope it doesn't do that. That means that means until closer to the election, the market's just gonna keep ripping higher, and then we'll get a blow off top probably before it, and then it'll correct, and it won't matter who wins. It'll just correct, because it's basically a buy the rumor, sell the fact, right? Honestly, if the market keeps going higher for 2 more months, the correction will be all that worse when it happens. It really will be. So this is the S&P. The NASDAQ, of course, looks even worse. Or look at the NASDAQ real quick. We'll look at it on another chart. But the Dow Jones hasn't made a new high. Neither has the Russell 2000. That's because they don't have the giant tech companies. Although I would argue that the Dow is being it's not mainly the Dow Jones Industrial. Schiff was talking about this. Is no longer an industrial index, which is a telling tale of the times, right? We don't make anything anymore. But that's not, it hasn't made new all-time highs. Of course, here's Apple. Once Apple corrects, it's going to take the whole market down with it. Still near all-time highs. It corrected on my 9 sell signal. My indicators are great. But let's just take a look at the weekly real quick. Look at that. It's perfect. Now I shorted it just a little too soon. It was over here, and or no, it was around like 430. Or no, it was lower, maybe 400. Yeah, it was around 400. Now it's too early, and my call option expired, worthless. But it looks like the correction has begun. Here's Tesla. Also looks like it has a blow off top. All right, here's S&P. Now this is why I keep telling you guys to have patience. I believe, where are my arrows? Oh, hold on. Oh, never mind. I think the chart is somewhere else. I'll find it later. Let's just talk about the dollar real quick and the VIX. Here's the Dow. You could tell it's near all-time highs. I don't think, in the end, I'll tell you guys what I think is going to happen in the next coming weeks. But it's not easy, because they really want to push this market to the moon. So here's a dollar index. You know, I'm still hoping it's going to bounce, but it won't until we get a market correction. I still think we're going to get a bounce. Nothing too crazy, no crazy rebound, but some sort of bounce here. Not a reversal, just a nice rebound, tested 200-day moving average on the dollar, which will also put more pressure on gold and silver. But this isn't going to happen until we get a market correction, and I think they know that. But right now, it's like, I feel like the market is trying to hold off until the election, which I don't think it's going to. I still think we're going to get the correction before that, like very soon. Like, it should happen next week. I thought it was going to happen 2 weeks ago, a month ago, but they just will not let it correct. And it's hard trading these days with all the manipulation. The bond yield is at 0.73. Looks like it's going to fall a little bit back down. Test 0.7, maybe even 0.6. And I guess the market could go a little bit higher for the next couple weeks based on yields. But I'm not certain. Let's look at the VIX. You know, buying the VIX and just holding it and waiting patiently. That's what I'm doing right now, personally. Because volatility is going to come back. It has to. And it's undervalued as well. It's below my blue line. Last time it did that, look how much it shot up. It's in the left corner here. I don't want to click on it again. Alright, here's the chart I was trying to find. Here's the S&P 500. So when it corrects, could be next week. I don't know, guys. It could be 2 weeks from now. It's just getting harder and harder. I do think it's going to be sooner than later because, let's just face it, Apple and Tesla and all that, it's beyond overbought and overextended. Now, they're doing the stock split, and very low IQ Robinhood traders and kids for some reason think that, like, that. So if the stock splits in half, they think they're going to get double the value. No, you're just getting double the shares. It's still worth as much in dollar terms. Like, this is how dumb people are. And a simple look, listen, we're in the information age. If you can't do a quick Google search or something, I don't even want to say that anymore. A search on the internet, then you deserve to lose all your money. That's all I have to say. The S&P is the candles. When it corrects, I expect this blue line and this green line to correct. The blue line is the GDX. Green line is the GDXJ. Blue line is GDX is an index of the largest macro large cap mining stocks, and the green line is the, I would say, sort of large cap to mid-size cap mining stocks. That's what I'm waiting for. That's why you have to be patient. Now, when the market corrects, they're going to step in with more stimulus, more QE. Powell's going to, do his magic. And we're going to get that huge dip in miners and gold and silver. And that'll probably be your last big dip before it shoots straight up to the moon. For a while, probably. and it'll be quick. It'll look just kind of like March did. So let me draw. Remember what happened in March? I was screaming by that dip. Okay? Well, I'm still waiting for another one like it. Okay? That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. That's what I'm waiting for. Can I be wrong? Sure. But that's what I'm waiting for right now. And then, boom. They're going to shoot back up. Boom. Now, the market will shoot back up as well. I don't know if it's going to make new highs. Could. Or it could trade sideways. But it doesn't matter. Whatever the market does after this, next big correction, won't matter because they're going to... The amount of money that they're going to have to inject, liquidity, that's what they call it, into the markets and system to keep it up, will just shoot metals to the moon. And by then, we're going to see more volatility in society. So I'm going to phrase it from now on. Because people are going to be mad. Here's all the indices, right? Here's the NASDAQ. This thing looks ridiculous. We've seen it. I mean, look at this. Weekly chart. And no, it's not a logarithmic chart. I want to see the real price action. This could be it for NASDAQ. The top might be in. $12,000. We're a little bit lower than the ultimate high. We hit a high yesterday or the day before. It hit like 1253, something like that. I really hope it is. I mean, listen, if... What's it gonna do? What? If it goes straight up, because once it loses momentum, it's going straight back down. So they can't let it lose momentum. So what it has to do is keep this momentum, and it's gonna just what? Do this? Just go straight up? If it does do that, we'll get a shooting star, and it'll just do this. Boom! Straight back down. And you can make a lot shorting NASDAQ if you time it perfectly. Which, for the private group, I've told you guys what I'm doing. All right. Yeah, NASDAQ's on the right. Looking very toppy. FANG index on the left. Very, very toppy. I've talked about this in my previous videos. Nothing's changed except that it just went higher. That's all it is. You have to have patience. These are daily charts, by the way. So, if you want to learn a little more about trading, you want to time your entry and exits on the daily and lower time frames. For your timing, for getting prepared for your trade, you're looking at the monthly, weekly, even the 3-day and the daily. For a perfect entry, or trying to get it perfect, I look at the 4-hour, and I'll even glance at the 1-hour. But they all have to line up. If there's sell signals from the monthly all the way down to the 4-hourly, I tend to go heavy on my trade. Okay, load. I'm not going to talk about that. Let's move along. I don't want to make this an hour-long video. Yeah, here's the Russell 2000. It has not made a new high. Why is that? Because the Russell tracks mid-size companies in the US, domestic companies. And they're not doing as well as these multinational vaporware, software, tech companies. So you could make an argument if the Russell 2000 and the Dow Jones, which is real economic prosperity, I believe, personally. because these companies make things. Not that the tech companies don't make chips and computer software and stuff; they do too. But if they don't make new highs, while the Nasdaq and the S&P and what else, the FANG index just keep shooting higher, eventually they're it's a red flag. It's the canary in the coal mine. They're gonna correct, especially if the Dow and the Russell 2000 start correcting. Also, the transports, Dow transports. Here's the euro versus the dollar. It's above my range. I mean, the euro's doing pretty well versus the dollar right now, for now. But on the correction, I believe what's going to happen is the euro's going to drop. Dollar's going to, go higher. So this is the euro versus the dollar. This price action you see here, which kind of makes a giant, sort of a fractal, but not really. All right, here's platinum. I've talked about platinum numerous times. I bring it up here and there. It's like the one metal that hasn't gone into a bull market. It's still in a bear market. Is now the time to buy? I'm not buying yet. I'm waiting for a dip with the rest of the market and gold and silver for that correction. And then, hopefully it falls back down to 800 or lower. That would be my nice, perfect accumulation. I mean, I think I did buy a little bit just to get a position in a platinum mining stock. I don't know, but I have a few to look at. And this thing has a long way to go. Huge upside. All right, here's energy. Here's oil. Oil's going to probably dip with the rest of the market temporarily and then rise. By the end of the year, I expect oil to be higher from where it is right now. I don't think it'll correct as hard as the rest of the equities markets. By the way, I want to look at lumber. People are talking about lumber. I never look at lumber. Who looks at lumber? Let's look at lumber futures. It's like outperformed everything. Holy crap. Why is that? Well, people are moving, right? Moving out into the suburbs. And people were bored all summer and spring, and they fixed up their homes. And now they're saying that millennials are moving out into the suburbs. I don't think millennials are they are moving out into the suburbs. I don't think they're buying homes because they can't afford them. What's happening is people who had money in the cities are moving out and buying homes in the suburbs, and maybe that's creating a mini temporary short-term I mean like 6 months to a year bull market in housing development in the suburbs, because people are leaving the cities for many reasons, right? I mean, the cold and the civil unrest. So that's why lumber's shooting to the moon, and also inflation. I wish I would have caught this. This thing went up like, let's take a look at lumber. It shot up from 250 to 916. Oh my god. It was limit up today, I believe, or yesterday. It went up 267%. Now, to some people, well, that's not that much because they're used to cryptos. Yeah, it is if you buy a call option. You can make like 200x, no problem. Man, that would have been... I haven't even looked at any lumber companies. Locally where I live, a huge lumber company went out of business, which makes no sense. How does any of this make sense? Huh. Alright. What else? I missed that, by the way. I'm not saying buy lumber. I don't know how high it'll go, but I'm not buying this. This is... When you see something like this and you didn't buy it, you sort of missed out. Don't be a Robin Hood trader. and buy the top. I'm not going to chase that. Here's oil, gold. If oil dips with the rest of the markets, which I expect it to, so will gold. And then I expect a sharp reversal. Same with gold. Gold will correct probably down towards 1750. Hopefully it shoots even lower to 1600. That'd be great. And then a massive reversal, and then to the moon. And those mining stocks, I mean, they're just gonna go to the moon. All right, here's silver on the right. It's already, look at this reversal. You see this candle pattern? It's a shooting star on the weekly at least. So I expect more downside on silver. Actually, let's take these to the weekly. This is a 3-day chart for both. Gold's on the left, silver on the right. Yeah, perfect 9 sell on the weekly, and it worked out perfectly with my indicator. I expect more downside. A lot of people are buying into this right now, and I don't think the selling's over. Like I said, when the market corrects, people are gonna get margin calls. Institutional banks are gonna come out and slam silver and gold again. Matter of fact, there's another 9 sell on this weekly, so I'm staying on the sidelines, being patient, doing research on 200 plus junior miners, and we're looking to take advantage of the correction to come. Smash some likes, leave anything in the comment section, share my videos. It's the only way my channel grows, and I'll continue to do this. Until next time, be safe.